Yo, so I'm on a walk with my son. Hopefully this goes smooth. I don't see any reason for it not to go smooth, but I want to talk about conceptual thinking and memory. So, for a good while, I have been a big conceptual thinker, meaning that I think about the meaning of what I'm engaging in, and I like to go into the philosophy of things and see the extent to which it reaches the concept itself. So, if I'm learning about physics, I don't want to just memorize a formula. I want to also be able to understand what the concepts are that I'm playing with. F equals ma. What is force? What is mass? What is acceleration? How does that look like across different variables, across different situations and contexts? And so I've learned that that has been super helpful in terms of learning. And so conceptual thinking is something that I've been looking into deeply, also because I'm a tutor and I'm teaching students just how to connect with the material much more deeply, learning a lot about learning. And recently, I have given it a go, uh, given memory a go. So, looking into what the method of loci is, which is a memory technique that is very famous, very well known. It's basically using spaces that like a house, like your house, the house you grew up in, and internalizing and visualizing the location itself, so that you can use it as a space to store images of things that you're trying to memorize. And so I've just been practicing it a little bit. I've been engaging with it, and I found it to be super helpful. And I'm pursuing my intuition, so I'm not trying to dive into it right away and take a course and begin implementing right away. What I'm really looking to do is connect it under my framework, integrate it into my idea of conceptual thinking being the best form of thinking, right? By conceptual thinking, I'm saying about when you're speaking about content, anything that you're learning about or anything that you're talking about, you're speaking about it from the place of the concept itself, the ideal form that exists, we could say, in the spirit world, the ideal form that exists in the highest vibration of the thing. So the pure essence of computer science isn't what some narrow-minded computer scientist is going to tell me. It's going to be what it's going to give me it's going to be a principle that can be expanded through different disciplines, and yet it retains its essence in a way that enhances creativity. Okay, now the narrow-minded definitions have their utility, obviously, only when you are using them for specific contexts. So, if I'm talking to a computer scientist, then I know that I'm most likely going to be engaging in their language in the way that they um, engage with the material, have known from material. But if I'm speaking to somebody who isn't a computer scientist but is interested in computer science, then I have a lot more freedom, because I can then connect things that they relate uh, to computer science, which is basically what you're doing often when you're teaching people. When you're teaching people, you have to find a way of making the unfamiliar familiar, making the unknown more known, and that is an art within itself. But the reason I say this is because if I can do that, then it facilitates transmission of knowledge. If I know how to communicate what computer science is in a way that I'm speaking, in a way that is understandable across various situations and various contexts, then it can be said that I know the concept very well, and I understand what computer science is. And so from that line of thinking, then I have concluded that that is why conceptual thinking is the best form of thinking, and conceptual learning is the best form of learning, because you are working out you're working out the essence of the material itself. So you are working out the essence, and from there, you can apply it to any other thing that comes across. Okay. Now, I will go more in depth into this idea of conceptual thinking in the future. But for now, what I do want to highlight is the connections that I'm making to memory, because for a long time I did I was against memory. I was against uh, rote memorization, forcing content to just be ingested and tried and attempted to be retained. But that is not something that I am against anymore. It was mainly because in school systems, many students default to memorization, and so do we. And so I didn't like that we were looking at information as a separate set of blocks that were separated, and that we could not really do much with. If you memorize something as a separate entity, then you don't have much power with that, because you're just going to be able to pull it up. You're just going to pull it up, but there's no understanding of the material. Understanding comes from conceptual thinking. If you understand the concepts, then you can almost throw any definition in your way, and you can apply it to the concept itself. But I have been introduced to these methods, the method of loci and mnemonics, different methods of memorization that have been implemented and applied through centuries, from places of ancient Greece, China, Aboriginal cultures, just the illiterate cultures who were not using notes or text, but they were using song and dance to continue to transmit their knowledge through generations. So they have all used different forms of memory techniques, and a few of them also include things like mythology is a big part of these cultures, as they would assign a specific piece of information to a mythological character and tell stories through that, and in telling stories they would transmit the information, right? So this is super powerful, because this is way different than just trying to memorize something by repeating it in your mind, because when you're able to work from story, then you're basically undergoing a creative process. And so we all have the capacity to be creative, and if we can be creative in the way we memorize, then we begin to unlock a lot of potential. As I would say, that creativity lies within the soul. So I just finished reading the book Moonwalking with Einstein, The Science and Art of Remembering Everything by Joshua Foer. And it was a great book. I'm so glad I got to finish it. It's the first book that I've read entirely throughout in a while. It's probably been a few years since I don't know. I think it's been a few years since I've finished the book that I picked up, and that means a lot. And it has also brought more clarity, but also more questions in terms of how I am to put this new way of thinking, this new way of remembering, into my system of conceptual thinking and learning. And the answers are coming in. The basic idea is that memorization is not to be seen as something that stifles our creativity, which it often does. That is usually how a lot of students learn. Memorization is supposed to be something that enhances and enlivens our creativity and just our life in general and our learning. And if that can be possible, then you are now building a bridge between the conceptual world, because the conceptual world, you can be moving forward, you could understand the essence, but if you don't understand the form, if you don't begin to see, I could talk about computer science, but if I don't know words, vocabulary that is used in programming, then my ability to bring that concept into reality is very, very limited. This idea also of of concepts. It is taken from Plato's theory of forms, which is the idea that concepts exist in this ideal world. It's a world that the soul knows before it enters the material plane, and when we learn, what we are doing is we are remembering what we knew from our souls. Now, I don't completely agree with that. I think that the concepts are actually meant to be expanded upon while living here. I think that we can see the essence, but we have yet to materialize it. And so that is what I would differ in terms of that theory. And so the goal then becomes, how can we make it so that not only do we connect with the concept, understand the concept, but also then have it become a reality. Not only is it just in the ideal world, but it begins to manifest in the physical world. And when it manifests, it thus enhances the physical world. That is the ultimate goal here. I think that is really what I'm talking about. It is manifestation. It is also creation, and it is also soul work. The work of the soul. And so people like Giordano Bruno. I don't know much yet about him. I will be learning more about him. But he was somebody who was interested in the esoteric arts, the esoteric schools. Alchemist, I believe. He used the method of loci. He created his own system, and he was able to memorize many things. So somebody like himself, I am thinking that somebody like himself, that is basically what I'm reaching for. I'm striving to be somebody that can use these memory methods and see them as really tools to help me connect to my soul. All right. Because in connecting to my soul, then I'm able to bring forth reality or enhance reality. Okay, so there's a link there. All right. The point of this video is to say that I have discovered a link between the method of loci and the theory of forms, and it is expanding the way that I see learning, and also how I see manifestation and creation in general, the divine act, really. Divine act. So, it's really what I want to share. That's all I'm going to share for now. I do plan on sharing more discoveries in the future, but for now, this is great. I hope that you guys find something. I hope that this video pushes you to think about memory in a different way, to think about thinking in a different way, to think about learning in a different way, or to think about spirituality in a different way. Alright, well, thank you guys for tuning in. See you in the next video. Stay lucid. Peace.